In the morning, we are live Tuesday, November 4th, right here on Jocks. College football playoff rankings will be released tonight. Greg McElroy will be in Bristol on the reveal show. What do you think that the committee is going to get wrong? What do you think the committee is going to get right?
Oh, I love this. I got so many talking points. You ready?
Ready.
I just don't want to give out all my good stuff because Boog will steal it here in 20 minutes when he comes on. But the most intriguing team to watch tonight, Georgia Tech.
Okay.
And everyone's going to sit there and say, why? Except for Saber, who is a Georgia Tech fan. And the reason why is because what has the committee now been charged to do? The committee is now exclusively responsible to put an additional weight on strength of schedule, correct? Last year, what was the problem with the committee? All they did was reward wins and losses. And they found themselves in a challenging predicament with where SMU ended up going into the final ranking. And then SMU, of course, lost the ACC title game and still got in because they were overvalued going in, even though they didn't play anybody. And I think that's something that will be taken into account this year. They've even said they're putting an additional weight on strength of schedule. So Georgia Tech fits the bill, right? Just like last year. Beautiful win-loss record. Amazing win-loss record. Heisman Trophy caliber quarterback. Like a lot of stuff that would check the box last year. And then you look at their strength of schedule played and it's 84th. So if they're ranked in the top 10, if they're ranked in the top 12, if they're ranked in the top 15, I'm going to lose it. I'm just saying, I'm going to lose it. And there are other teams, by the way, that frankly should be ranked in front of Georgia Tech that have one loss from their own conference. Like, I don't know, Louisville. And I don't know if they will be. So it'll be really interesting to see how it all goes because Georgia Tech, they have a win against Duke and a win against Wake Forest. Both are above 500. Everyone else they've beaten is below 500. So, I don't know, man. It'll be interesting to see. Other team that kind of fall in that category is Mizzou. Now, Mizzou's strength of schedule is not terrible. They're 35. Not terrible. Their two losses are against Vanderbilt and Alabama. Their best win is against a 5-4 Kansas team. They should be penalized for that. Should be in the 20s. I don't know if they will be, but they should be. So, the other team, too, that to keep an eye on this first initial rankings release, Oregon. We all love Oregon, right? Like, they're very good. No one's denying that. Strength of schedule played 36. They have one win against a team that's currently above 500. That is the 5-3 Northwestern Wildcats. And they do play at Iowa. Things will strengthen for them down the stretch. At Iowa, USC at home, at Washington. Things will strengthen for them in November, but based on where things are right now, they shouldn't be ahead of a team like Ole Miss. They shouldn't be ahead of some of the, maybe even a two-loss team that's sitting right behind them because they have a stronger strength of schedule. So that's just something I've kind of picked out is the strength of schedule disparity right now with a lot of these teams having backloaded schedules. We should see some teams that are penalized because of it tonight.
Okay. A couple of things you're going to need to know for tonight. As Greg mentioned, strength of schedule and now how that is viewed. Schedule strength metric. Familiarize yourself with that phrase. More weight's going to be applied to games against top opponents, and then record strength metric. It will reward wins versus high-quality opponents, a minimal reward for beating lower-quality opponents, and a penalty for losing to lower-quality opponents. A lot of the things Greg just stated there, but that's some of the verbiage you're going to get tonight from the committee and how they're going to begin to utilize that moving forward. As we have stated before, in some of our offseason conversations about this, I am all for having different ranking systems, metrics, grading systems to have as an aid to utilize, and then maybe even to begin your justification for rankings. I'm fine with it. What I don't want to see tonight is an overly heavy lean on some of these things from the committee, and that essentially being the only reason that they can come out afterwards and say that they put this team there for this reason.
Yeah.
But if we're talking actual teams that you think may be over or undervalued by the committee, like, for example, I want to talk number one, first and foremost. Do you think this is a lock to be Ohio State?
No.
Would you be upset if it was Indiana?
And not at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. And I think it's actually a pretty good argument. I do think for my eye test, when I watch them, I would probably say Ohio State. But when you look at the fact that in conference play, Indiana's won 4 games by 20, 2 by 50, 3 by 40 or more, I think you have to at least start talking about them. And the eye test doesn't really fail you.
No.
They look pretty good too.
They're both 1-2 in game control, which is essentially a metric that the botanist at Redstone Arsenal used to justify eye test. To me, I just watch them. So they're 1-2 in game control. Here's where I have an issue with putting Indiana over Ohio State. Indiana's non-conference consisted of Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State. Just for that reason and that reason alone, they should be penalized. I know that they've taken care of business in conference. I totally support them being a top 2 team. That's why I'm against them being number 1, though, because Ohio State actually challenged themselves outside of the conference. Ohio State deserves to be rewarded the extra bonus points for having played and beaten another top 15 team out of conference. Indiana said, no, we don't want to try that. We don't want to do that. Tons of credit for beating Oregon. Tons of credit for beating Iowa. 0 credit, if anything, negative credit for who you played out of conference. That's my big holdup.
And that's one that we'll see tonight, how this committee is going to fare, where they're going to have teams, where they're going to rank teams. You'll get that tonight on ESPN. And we'll get our first idea as to sort of where the committee is, how they feel about certain teams. Want to talk college coaching moves today? We're going to do that. We'll talk a little bit of the Auburn situation today. Booger McFarland with us at 7:15. He'll be on that show tonight with Greg. Andy Burcham at 8. We'll talk Auburn basketball from last night. Yes, basketball season has begun. It will always get some run here on this show. Alabama takes down North Dakota last night, 91-62, so a comfortable win for Nate Oates' group. I can't really say the same for Auburn as they go to overtime against Bethune-Cookman. 95-90, they get the win. Bethune hits 12 of 22 from 3. So they were hot there. You get a little concerned about the perimeter defense. Auburn 6 of 23. Keyshawn Hall goes for 28, 5 in double figures. And maybe the story of last night would have been Arizona over Florida, 93-87. Koa Pete, true freshman, 30 points, 7 boards, 3 steals. And a literal dunk contest with himself the entire game.
Yes.
He stole the show last night in college basketball, I think safe to say.
1,000%. And if you watch and look up, I was so infatuated with what I saw from the stat line last night that I actually went and watched some highlights. Like, goodness gracious alive. And then I decided to dive into what he's done his whole career. And one of the things that I took away from last night, he goes, I wanted to remind people that I was a good player. A lot of people didn't think I was a good player. I was like, you were a 5-star consensus top 5 overall prospect in college basketball circles. So I'm glad thanks for the reminder last night. And then I want to step deeper. His brother, Andrus Pete, former first-round pick.
Yep.
Or once upon a time, first-round pick 10 years ago in 2015 to the New Orleans Saints. He is one of seven children there in the Pete family. Dad went NFL. Oldest brother went NFL. Has another brother currently playing college. And he is now number 3. So probably going to be like 4 professional athletes in that family. Pretty good.
It's actually it's above average.
What do they think they are? The Matthews?
Maybe. No, they're splitting up sports though. Can't do that. I'll go to one sport to be the Matthews.
No.
That's crazy. But he had a literal dunk contest last night. I mean, he was out of control for Arizona, and they get the win. So tonight you get UMass and Akron. That's a winless UMass team, by the way. 6 p.m. on CBS Sports Network. So if you haven't made the switch from YouTube TV, you'll be able to watch that one. And then Miami and Ohio, separate, both at 5 and 3. Maction tonight, 6 p.m. on ESPN2. You will not see that one on YouTube TV tonight. So that's your college football tonight. The Auburn situation, one that we'll get into. I want to talk coaching candidates as far as Auburn is concerned as well. But yesterday, John Cohen met the media. DJ Durkin met the media. What characteristics do they want for a new head coach on the Plains? We discussed that yesterday. I discussed that with Paul on his show last night. But John Cohen laid out some of the characteristics yesterday that he feels like he wants for the new Auburn head football coach.
Somebody with an edge, somebody who's highly competitive. You know, in my career, I found that one of two things has to happen. The head coach of almost any sport either has to have a tremendous edge to them, or they have to be surrounded by assistants who have an edge to them. There's many different ways to define that, but you can call it blue collar, you can call it hard nosed, you can call it aggressive, you can call it all those things, but that's usually priority number one is to find that part. Then intelligence, strategic, forward thinking, I mean, all those things matter. And at this level of college football, you're obviously going to have somebody who has a track record in all these areas, and you're going to look into that track record with the utmost seriousness. And you're looking for somebody who can lead a building, lead a staff, lead 18 to 22, 23, 24-year-olds into battle to compete in the best league in the country.
So if you take the first couple of lines there, where John Cohen went with kind of being a little bit hard-nosed, competitor, having an edge. I think there are some folks that are being mentioned for this job that I'm not going to say they don't have that, but to the extent in which it feels like he's describing it, probably would not. There are other people that are going to tell you that one of the issues here may be that John only wants to go with an offensive guy. He kind of believes that you need an offensive-minded head coach to win big in college football.
That's good to know. With everything that's going on at Oregon and Georgia, it's good to know that you can only win with offense.
I'm not putting those words in his mouth that he said only. But there are people that will tell you that they believe that, you know, that's the direction that he feels like he needs to go and wants to go.
Fair. I don't agree with that sentiment. Not saying it's wrong. It depends exclusively on the candidate. You are not eliminated from the pool in my eyes if you are a defensive-minded head coach. Personally, I think defensive-minded head coaches, frankly, have a little better understanding of complementary football. Maybe to a fault in some ways, because maybe they're slightly too conservative. But I lean very much like down the middle. Depends on the guy. Like if you got a superstar defensive guy that you think can implement things in the right way, great. But do you really think that this is Auburn's not a place that needs to sell tickets? Let's just put it that way. I don't know how else to say it. Like, they don't need excitement.
They don't need to win the press conference.
No. And that, to me, I think if you feel the need and you're like, I can only go offense, that's because you're at a place that doesn't have great fan support and you really need to put an exciting product on the field.
Unless you're Florida.
You need to put an exciting
product
on the field.
The fans dictate that. That's not the administration. The fans seem to always dictate that.
Fair.
When 34-10, it's like, yeah, but we only had 450 yards of offense.
Why didn't we hang 50?
Yeah, that's the only place I'd say that about.
I don't know. Like, is Clark Lee a good coach?
Feels like he's being mentioned for a lot of these jobs.
I think he's pretty good, but nope, defense out.
But what are we also, Greg? Here's one of the issues I would have with that. And I'm not saying that he's ruled out head coaches that have a defensive background on their resume that they're not even now feasible, possible for this job.
It's preferred.
Correct.
Yeah.
What have we been talking about with a lot of these current head coaches? Some have been fired, some may be fired soon, and some are kind of struggling to hang on to their job, like at Florida. People mentioned it with Hugh Freeze as well. What do they want these coaches to go do and go hire?
A full-time offensive and defensive coordinator.
So all these offensive whiz-erds that are at all these schools, now you're getting a push for people to go, they need to go hire an offensive coordinator?
Yep.
So that's the main reason that I would take that out of the equation and say, you may think that that's real. You may think that that's what's necessary, but at the same time, some of these guys that we think are offensive geniuses that we would love to come run our offenses, it's not working. And there are a lot of reasons for that. It's not necessarily on them.
Yep.
Sometimes it's the place, it's happenstance. Sometimes it's health of certain positions. Sometimes it's lack of depth at certain positions, the way it goes. But I would want the best candidate.
That's all that matters.
Greg Skipworth tweets in, Cole, I keep hearing that the next coach has to fit the culture at Auburn. Okay, first off, who have you heard that from? What does that mean? Does that influence who they go after? If that's true, should they change? With the exception of maybe Tuberville.
What is the culture at Auburn?
They have usually picked up incomers. Want your opinion?
What is the culture at Auburn, Cole, in your eyes?
I think the culture at Auburn is one of togetherness, family. One of I think it's about more about toughness. It's about being a little bit of an underdog. It's about having a respect and an understanding of the people around you. But the current culture of the Auburn Athletic Department, I think right now, has more continuity than it's had in a long time. But when people, it's funny that you say you throw the word fit in there. I mean, I literally told Paul last night on his show, I'm trying not to say the word fit anymore. And then the next question asked me about fit at Auburn. It's not his fault. We've been saying this for decades, so
yeah.
it's hard to get out of it. But I'm trying not to be stuck on the whole fit thing because, as I've stated before, we have seen what would be perceived to be perfect fits in multiple places fail. So I'm going to try not to use that anymore. But I do think what matters is having an understanding of how certain places operate.
Sure.
And when you come into a place with your chest out thinking, I'm going to run the show, and I don't have to do this, and I don't have to do that, and it's my way or the highway, there are a lot of places that will not work. And I'll say this, Auburn being one of them. Now, if you have the understanding of, listen, there's a reason that Tommy Tuberville is in what he's in right now. Because he used to spend the first 6 periods of practice every day walking around shaking hands with the media. And he'd ride his golf cart over to the media viewing portion, and he would shake all their hands, and he would talk to them. He would have the media members come sit in his office sometimes, and they would chat. He knew what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing. And he did it with some of the big-time money guys as well. Now, you've had other guys come in since then and say, I'm not playing that game. Good luck, if that's the case. And I'm not saying you have to play that game every day. I'm not saying that they need a headset in their suite up there watching the game where they can click down and call plays with direct line to the quarterback. But I do think at certain places you have to have a little bit of an understanding of we're probably going to have to massage this relationship just a little bit. We're going to have to go have a conversation every now and then. We're going to have to sit down in my office once every few weeks and just talk about football or talk about life or talk about the kids or whatever. If they want to come in the locker room and try on a uniform, by God, you let them come in the locker room and try on a uniform. Because the flip side of this is when everybody gets mad and says, why is he meddling? Why is he in there? Why is he messing with us? If I had given $282 million to a place, I'd probably want some stuff too. Would you not?
I probably, if I had 282 to give.
Let's just hypothetically say you did.
I probably wouldn't care that much about needing a jersey. But
a conversation, I
don't even know if I want that.
A pass to an area.
They can have a conversation with me. If they want to talk to me, they can. But I just gave 282, so you don't have to talk to me. That's I want the 280 so I can be out of it.
Can I give you this money to leave me alone?
Yes, leave me alone. I'll write the check. Just stop calling me.
So I realize that where Greg is going with this is where people try to be cute and try to make fun of Auburn and try to say, oh, I keep hearing this. And it's like, why do they have to be that way? I know what's happening there. I know the sarcasm with it. I know the direction that it's going. But here's the reality of it. It's not the only place that operates this way, and there has to be an understanding of what's going to be expected. I'm not going to say required because it's not part of the job requirement, but it could get you fired. But it could also help you a lot. And if you don't think you have to do those things at Florida and Tennessee and LSU and a lot of other places, you're wrong. And I'll be frank with you, Greg. I don't know the inner workings of Alabama right now. I think it's too new. And I don't think it's getting in Kalen's way. I can say that. I don't think it's a problem.
Nah.
But I'll go to my grave saying the most impressive thing Nick Saban ever did as a college coach is manage all of that. And put it in a place to where it did not keep him from being great. How he did it, we may never know all the true details of it, but he did it.
Do you want to win 10 or you want to win 5? That's pretty simple. You want to win 10? Leave me alone. You want to win 5, 7, 8? Come on in my office at 11 o'clock and let's talk strategy. And guess what? There's a lot of places that require this type of. There's a lot of places that are benefited by the coach saying, I'm not doing it. Here's the problem with Auburn is that you have the super, super tip top that is extremely wealthy and extremely influential. Whereas at other places, the support for the program is a little bit wider. There's more people that are involved. So therefore, you don't have to answer to 3 or 4. You might have to answer to 60, which is fine. But I think those 60 are better understand that, like, all right, collectively we're good. At Auburn, it's 4 or 5. And that's okay. As long as those 4 or 5 are not trying to get overly involved from a personnel decision standpoint and from a standpoint of what they're doing philosophically. I think it's a great thing. But I do know that it requires probably a slightly different personality at Auburn. And I would have never said that prior to the Brian Harsin experience. Prior to Brian Harsin, I would have said, fit doesn't matter. It shouldn't be important in this day and age. Then Brian Harsin gets there and they are sabotaging him through the media. I mean, it was unbelievable. So I used to say it didn't matter, but now I think it does because of what we just witnessed 3 years ago.
All right, so we'll continue that conversation. We'll talk a little bit more college football playoff. Booger McFarland going to be on the other side. First, tell our listeners about Polar Bear Services.
Well, Wes and his guys continue to do an amazing job. And I don't know about y'all, we had to kick the heat on pretty good yesterday. And right now, between the seasons, hot during the day, cold at night, you got to make sure that your system is ready for the cold weather ahead. So make sure your heating system is up to the task and running properly with a checkup by the experts at Polar Bear Services. They are your independent trained dealer. They do system tune-ups, duct cleaning, repair, new installation. You can call them for any of your home comfort needs. They can also help you with electrical, plumbing, whole home generators. You name it, they got it. I've been using Polar Bear Service for all my home service needs for several years now, and you can trust them. Just enjoy the experience every time those guys come to the house and take care of business. Remember, if you have a problem with your electrical, plumbing, heat, or air, just pick up the phone and call the Bear. It's 205-497-BEAR. It's 497-BEAR.
All right, we'll come back and talk college football playoff rankings and the LSU job with Booger McFarland next right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 7:26. Tuesday, November 4th, right here on Jocks. Listen online, jocksfm.com. App is in your app store, iPhone, Android. Download it for free. Listen on the go that way. Booger McFarland with us now on the Higginbotham Hotline. College football playoff ranking show. The reveal will be tonight. You and GMAC will be on that show. Is there a team you're most interested in, Boog, that you feel like this will tell me where this committee is, how they view this team, where they have this team, or just because you're curious of what the overall mindset will be of a certain team heading into tonight?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having number one. I think it's several teams, Cole. I think when it comes to Notre Dame and Miami, like who's going to be ranked higher, Notre Dame or Miami? Understanding the head-to-head, Miami beat Notre Dame, but one team is ascending. The other team seems to be descending. I think where's Oregon at? Oregon's best win is Penn State, and Penn State is really not a good football team. How do they view Ohio State? Ohio State really hasn't, like their best win is Texas, and Texas really hasn't looked like a good football team overall. They struggle with some of the more lesser-known teams in the SEC. Texas A&M, undefeated. I don't know how you feel. It wouldn't surprise me if Texas A&M is number one tonight. Indiana's best win is on the road at Oregon. So how they view Oregon is going to ultimately determine how they view Indiana. So I think it's a lot of teams that we have to look at tonight. I don't know if we're going to get the overalls. We can say, hey, this committee values X, Y, Z. But I think we'll start the process, and it's a 6-week process where we can figure out what they're going to value. I think the head-to-head tonight between Notre Dame and Miami is going to be fascinating. I think the strength of record between Oregon and Texas A&M is going to be fascinating. Looking forward to being on that desk tonight.
It's going to be a good one, bud. Look forward to seeing you. How do you view Texas right now after what they did last week? Because I know we'll look and we'll fast forward and we'll say, oh, it was a 3-point game. But in reality, that was a beatdown and a couple busted coverages. How do you kind of assess where Texas has been, and now in the bye week, where can they go?
I think Texas has a ceiling, McElroy, that can be as high as anyone because we know they got premier players on defense with Colin Simmons, Taft, Anthony Hill Jr. Like they got really, really good players. Offensively, they've struggled on the outside on the perimeter a little bit. Still been waiting on Wingo to kind of take that next step. It was good to see him have a big play to start the Vanderbilt game. Arch Manning is always going to be the key. I thought he had his best game. Their ceiling, like it wouldn't surprise me if you said their ceiling is national championship, even though they've come nowhere close to playing to their ceiling. But the talent is there. And an old football coach told me a long time ago, I'd rather bet on talent than not. And so I think Steve Sarkisian is kind of waiting to see if he can put it together. But at some point, you are what your record says you are. And I watched them play against Kentucky. I watched them play against Mississippi State. I watched them play, and for whatever reason, they don't necessarily have the it factor. And so it's a long-winded way of saying, talent-wise, I think they can play with anybody. I think execution-wise and maybe the it factor, something's missing.
I think you got to make them not do the cool stuff. You got to make them get off blocks. You have to make them tackle. You have to make them break multiple tackles. If you can do that, then you can have a good day against them. But if you're missing tackles, arm tackling, they're going to turn 8 into 80. If you're having to drop back a bunch, that's going to be a real problem for you. You know, if you're letting them attack the mesh and that causes a big problem and just sprint to it, that's going to be a real problem because you don't have the athletes they do, like you said. After we get past those teams, so let's just say past Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Bama, Georgia, Oregon. We can even put Ole Miss in that category. If you want to put BYU, Texas Tech, that's fine. Who's a team kind of in the next level of teams, the next quadrant of teams, I guess, since basketball season started, we'll use that term, that you feel like might not get enough respect tonight, that you watch, even if they say have 2 losses, and you're just like, man, I think that's a better team than most people believe?
Well, I look at Louisville, and, Louisville, I love Braun, man. Like, when you talk about record, for as much flack as we gave James Franklin for his big game record, you got to give Coach Braun a lot of credit because his record is right up there with some of the best in the sport. As a play caller, I think, he may not be in the Lane Kiffin realm, but I think he's right there as far as a play caller. And his teams are physical, man. Like, you watch the game when they beat Miami. Like, yeah, you can say Miami and Carson Beck threw those picks, but man, you look at the play calling, you look at the physicality, you look at how they ran the football. Bell is an absolute stud at wide out. I think Louisville, like the ACC is fascinating because Louisville, Georgia Tech, I think are two of the better, maybe the two best teams in that conference. I would lean toward. I think Louisville's ceiling is higher, even though I just love Haynes King. To me, he's my favorite player in the country. But I think the Louisville, Georgia Tech conversation and kind of where they are is going to fascinate me, and the ACC in general, Cole.
Yeah, the ACC is wild, that's for sure. What about the Big 12? We talked a lot about the ACC, I feel like, with Miami, Louisville, Georgia Tech, what have you. But the Big 12, they're going to have two teams likely that are ranked in the top 10 to 12, 8 to 10. And the AP has BYU and Texas Tech right there in the top 10, top 9, and they're matching up this weekend. What do you think the likelihood is that the Big 12 ends up with two teams in the field at season's end?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know how they're going to value the Big 12, and I think that's going to be interesting to see. I think the game this weekend, if BYU wins the game and Texas Tech has 2 losses, that's going to say a lot about the conference. You know, BYU's got this freshman at quarterback, Bear Bachmeier. It's amazing how physical they are. But just enough athleticism and enough passing from the quarterback has kind of elevated them. I think it's going to be wild in Lubbock. But I think the BYU-Texas Tech game, even though, because Texas Tech has told us all year long about all the money they've spent and they're built the right way up front, offensive line, defensive line. I think this game is going to go a long way to determining that. Could they get 2 teams in? Sure. Do I think they're going to get 2 teams in? I don't think the ACC and the Big 12 are both going to get 2 teams in. If you told me one of those 2 conferences got 2 teams, I'd probably say, okay, but I don't think both of those conferences are getting 2 teams in.
Booger McFarland joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You will see him on the college football playoff rankings release tonight with GMAC. Let's go over to LSU. How do you describe where this search is right now for a new head coach?
Beginning. I think right now it's just at the beginning. I think once you get past, and here's what people have to understand. Like, everybody looked at last week and, oh man, Rome is burning, the governor, the president, all that. Let's realize it's an election year, so the governor's going to grandstand. He's gonna throw out words to get his base riled up, like the word Trump and all that. In the end, guys, let's talk about reality. Reality is this: is that LSU's naming a new president this week, I think. That's been in the works way before the firing of Brian Kelly. So the president will be in place. Verge Osbury, who's the interim AD, if you ask me to put some money on it, I put a lot of money that he's going to be the permanent AD. And so he's the guy that's going to make the hire for the next coach. And so after you get past that and you say, okay, president is going to be there, AD, LSU, I'm biased. And so you guys tell me, I think LSU's a top 5 job in America, regardless of how you look at it. Facilities, recruiting, blah, 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 money, the whole 9. I'm biased, so I'm going to lean on you guys to tell me. I think there are a lot of coaches whose name we haven't mentioned who want the job. And so I think LSU is going to be able to get a really good coach, but the search is at the beginning. So I would ask you guys, an Auburn grad and an Alabama grad, tell me, am I wrong by saying LSU is a top 5 job in America with everything you know, or do you still view it that way?
I mean, I don't think there's anything you could tell me that would not make it a top 5 job in America. So I'm more interested in, 1, who's making the decision, and 2, if there are any hints, any inklings at what maybe the profile is or needs to be, other than, guy who has successful head coaching experience. Because I don't know. Well, I don't know what they want to go after, who they think they can attack, things like that nature.
Okay, so the guy that's going to make the call is Verge Osbury. He's the interim AD. He's the guy that has autonomy. He talked about they got a little search committee, but ultimately it's his call. It's going to be his call. He's been at LSU 30 years. He played linebacker there. He was an All-SEC backer there. He's been there through every national championship, so he knows what the DNA of the head coach needs to be. And to your point, what the profile is, Cole, like, the profile has got to be what LSU's always been. It's a physical team, man. It's athletes, it's physicality, it's a brand of football that I think you guys played against. I was there, I know. And it's going to be the total opposite of BK. And nothing against Brian Kelly, guys, but Brian Kelly was a CEO who ran a great company, but he never came down to have lunch with the employees, if you know what I mean. He would call down and check on everybody, and he was a great organizer, but he never came down to touch the people. And here's one thing that I'll tell you guys that really astonished me when I found out. Maybe the number one drill at practice that football teams have to do, not 7-on-7 McElroy, it's 9-on-7, Cole, like inside run drill. Like every team in America, I don't care if it's high school, I don't care if it's college, I don't care if it's pro, you got to do inside run drill because it kind of sets the tone for your team. LSU did inside run drill or 9-on-7, whatever you want to call it. They did it one time in the last 3 years. That's on the head coach. And it just goes to show you that the DNA and the fabric of what it was built on was changed by a guy who doesn't or didn't know it. Now, maybe that's his style. I don't know. But I don't know of a football team that's going to function without having a toughness and a physicality. And the only way I know how to get it is through 9-on-7 and inside run drill. Like that kind of sets the tempo. And for whatever reason, Brian Kelly didn't feel like doing it. And I think that, along with a number of other reasons, is why he's no longer there. But back to your original question, I think the DNA of the head coach has to bring back what you guys played against, what I was a part, which is the physicality, the toughness, the athletes. And I think that's what Verge Osbury is going to look for.
Finally, they've continually referenced the importance of having, quote, Louisiana ties. Does that matter? I mean, honestly, to me, I think it's a little ridiculous. I don't need to hire a guy from Louisiana or a guy that's coaching Louisiana because I need, quote, Louisiana ties. The last time they had a guy from Louisiana, it ended terribly. It peaked in remarkable fashion, but it didn't end well with Ed Ogeron. So how important is it to have Louisiana ties in your eyes?
Zero importance whatsoever. There's zero relevancy.
Then why do they keep saying
that,
it?
Well, first of all, who's they? I think that I would ask
governor?
that question about. Well, okay. As I said from the beginning, let's stop listening to the governor. You know, the governor is the governor has his own agenda, and the governor's not making this hire. And so you have to, like, once we get past all of that, understand what the facts are. And the facts are the governor is in an election year, and the governor has his own agenda. Verge Osbury, LSU grad, been at LSU 30 years. He's making the hire. And so there's your LSU, there's your Louisiana connection. I think the next president, based on what I'm hearing, is going to be a Louisiana guy. And so you got two Louisiana people making the decision, so to speak. I don't think the coach has got to be like Les Miles wasn't a Louisiana guy. Nick Saban wasn't a Louisiana guy. So let's just look at the facts. Ed Ogeron, sure, he was a Louisiana guy. But I think the last three national championship winning coaches there, two of the three weren't Louisiana guys. So to your point, McElroy, I'd be very weary of listening to they. And if we want to say they to the governor, I definitely wouldn't listen to him.
Boog, we appreciate it, man. Great stuff. Have fun tonight. Always good catching up with you, and we'll do it again soon.
All good. Hey, McElroy, let's make sure that we realize we don't get paid by the word tonight, okay?
I might not even stop talking. Once they get it to me, I might just run for 45 straight. I'm going to fill it up.
Bud, I can't wait. Thanks, guys.
Just take a knee. I got you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Booger McFarland joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Some interesting things that he brought up about Brian Kelly, because that was also discussed inside that facility yesterday. I want to talk about that and just maybe ask why or how that can take place, because it goes back to something that happened to us when we were covering him a couple of weeks ago as well. We'll move to that, but not before Greg tells you about Crocker Moving Services.
Well, they're a local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys, and you can trust them in your home. Whether it's your whole home packed up and moved, your company headquarters moved across country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room, these guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you've purchased and need to get to your home. So call, visit them online today for a free quote. The website's CrockerMovingServices.com. That's CrockerMovingServices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Service for your next move.
All right, when we come back, some serious hows and whys during the Brian Kelly tenure at LSU? We'll discuss those next right here on Jocks.
McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, Jocks 94.5, 8:45 here in Birmingham, Alabama. The national champion of GMC dealers, just a short drive up the road from us. It's always great to know you can go see Andy Cole. You can go see Jonathan Yeager. It is awesome, absolutely awesome to know that those guys are the very best that we have in our country as it relates to selling GMCs, and you can be there in a half hour. It's hard to imagine going anywhere else. I couldn't imagine doing it, that's for sure. It's because of the deals. The deals are incredible. Like a GMC Sierra 2500 Denali, beautiful, beautiful vehicle. 2500 now. 97,530 is a list price. You can take 12,000 off that sticker. You get it for 85,530. It's deals like that keep people coming back. That's why 75% of their business is repeat customers. That's because you have a better experience when you shop with Bill Smith. Take the short drive to Coleman. You'll be glad you did. You can also shop online, have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
All right, so Booger McFarland brought up something interesting, and that was essentially inside drill. If you don't know what that is, it is no DBs, no receivers, semi-scrimmage. And it's a simulated run period. And there's not going to be an option to throw the ball. You're not going to have to worry about coverage. Most coordinators are going to sneak a bootleg in there every now and then. Excuse me. It's going to happen. Just to say, hey, your defensive ends are screaming down a little bit too quick. Keep them in check. But physicality is born there, essentially. And Boog discussing how it had not been done in quite some time at LSU. I shared with you that when I was down in Baton Rouge for the South Carolina game, that Brian Kelly told us, during the bye week, we brought back the chutes and the sleds. If you're not familiar with those, now it's more individual sled. Used to be 5-person sled. You can have 2-person sled. Just a big blocking pads on a big metal frame. Some have wheels, some don't, and offensive linemen push them. Defensive linemen can use them as well. Chutes are sort of a big metal cage that you fire out of to keep your pad level low. And those had not been there. And he told me they hadn't used them since early spring. I was shocked. Then, yesterday, you see Frank Wilson, interim head coach, say that Blake Baker came to him and requested more physicality in simulated game-like situations in practice because they had not been getting that under Brian Kelly. My question, Greg, and I don't mean this to pile on Brian Kelly. We don't need to do that.
Right.
But Brian Kelly's a really good football coach.
Right.
He's won a lot of games at a lot of different places.
Correct.
How does this happen? How do you get to this knowing good? Go back to some of those Notre Dame teams he had. I'm pretty sure they had physicality working in practice there.
They did, just how they played.
100%. So is it just today's college football? Is it not wanting to scare guys off? I'm just curious, like how does this become something that you allow your team to get to? It's wild to me. I don't understand it.
It's hard to wrap your head around. It feels a little bit like malpractice if that's not something that you're doing. I mean, we used to spend, 20, 24 plays of practice, good on good, in inside run drill.
We did at least 2 periods of it on Tuesday, Wednesday. I know.
Ours were always about the plays. We had periods, but if the period was 3 minutes, 12 minutes, didn't matter. Like it was always about plays. So, I mean, the starters would get 12 reps, backups probably 8, and threes would get 4. I mean, good on good.
Yep.
Thereabouts. I mean, it was a lot. So, and that's twice a week. So that means 24 good on good reps a week for your starters, which over the course of a 12-game, 13-game, 14-week season, that's a lot of reps. Yep. Extra games where you're getting that development. So I'm a little surprised. I don't know if I totally buy it, but I'm a little surprised. Maybe at this point of the season, they weren't doing it.
Yeah, we still did it later into the year, not as much. I think it would go to 1 day a week, or maybe the time would go down. But
yeah, we'd go down to like 20 reps as opposed to.
Heard us talking about on this show. The only way that you're truly going to be good at blocking and getting off blocks, and I'll say this probably with tackling as well. You're not going to tackle to the ground in season, but you have to have time spent on it. Is doing it against other people in full pads trying to make you look bad. Like that's the only way. We can go work. T-board right, T-board left, shoots, sleds, the whole giddy up. We can do it all day.
Yep.
And take 1 million pass sets a day. But until somebody turns that speed into power and tries to run down the middle of you, and you have to stop that person, you're not going to get a full understanding of how it works and how it operates.
Right.
And what has LSU had the hardest time doing this year? Specifically when they're throwing the ball.
Blocking?
Block people. So they go hand in hand. And it's very surprising to me that I know Brian Kelly's a good coach. I don't need anybody to tell me that. I know he is.
That's established.
It didn't work at LSU. Okay. Some things don't work some places does not make you necessarily a bad coach right away. But being the coach that he is, for that to get there, it's very surprising to me. And I need questions answered as to sort of how and why. We'll discuss a little bit more on the other side next on Jocks. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you tuning in. It is 7:53, Tuesday, November 4th, right here on Jocks. As football season moves along, you know that means changing with the weather are coming. Protect your HVAC system with a checkup from a trained comfort specialist. So when the cold weather hits, you'll have peace of mind. You're protected by America's most reliable and trusted brand. Find a comfort specialist near you at train.com. It's hard to stop a train. This was Frank Wilson, interim LSU head coach, yesterday answering that question we referenced in our previous segment about Blake Baker's question to him on practice time.
One of the things for him was, Coach, I need to see physicality in an inside run drill, if you will. You got it. We're doing it tomorrow. All right, so we'll get a little roughed up, if you will, and play inside run offense against defense so that we're given the best sample size. It won't be a full-out scrimmage. We're not doing those things in season, but we're going to mix it up a little bit so we can see speed and physicality that when our defense sees it on Saturday, it's not shocking because of the look you've gotten all week has not been realistic.
And the last line there is the one you need to pay closest attention to. The look that we have gotten has not been realistic. Robert and Pelham, you have about 30 seconds. Welcome into the show, Robert.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Cole. I just want to get your input or your perspective on what the offensive line needs to do. It needs to do a little bit more zone blocking instead of man-on-man because it doesn't matter who you have back there, taking snaps. If they don't have protection, they can't get it off.
I don't know how much scheme alteration can help that group because I have seen them struggle in slide protection. I've seen them struggle in pull protection. I've seen them struggle in regular protection. From a run blocking perspective, I think probably gap scheme, pin and pull stuff is a little more favorable for them. You have a 17-year-old center that hasn't played a lot of football, that isn't going to understand a lot of the inner workings, so simplify things for him just a little bit. Try to calm things down. That's where maybe zone scheme stuff could help you a little bit because, hey, you zone it left, you zone it right in the run game. The frustrating part to me, though, when I say that schematic issues are not at the heart of their problems, just go watch the tackles individually in pass pro. I mean, the right tackle is just opening his hips like a turnstile as soon as the ball snapped the last couple games. I can tell you this, he's not being coached to do that. And he has film from multiple games of where that doesn't work. So you guys have heard us say this a lot of times. I'll say it again. There's an onus on the individual that we forget to bring up sometimes, where you need to go see what you're doing wrong and you need to go a little bit extra mile to try to fix it and repair it yourself. Not a lot of people want to say that, but there is some reality to it.